My name is Bailey, and I'm 31 years old. 2 weeks ago, I was standing in my kitchen, covered in flour and trying to perfect my grandmother's gingerbread recipe when my husband, Logan, walked in. He didn't look at me. He didn't taste the frosting. He just leaned against the counter and said, "By the way, Monica is joining us for Christmas dinner. Be mature about it." I didn't scream. I didn't drop the tray. I just stood there, the silence stretching between us until it felt like a physical weight. Monica wasn't just a friend. She was the woman he'd been totally over for 4 years, the woman whose name still popped up on his phone at 11 p.m. to ask for career advice. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I love hearing from our community while we dive into these stories. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Most wives would have fought. They would have told him to cancel the invite or pack his bags. But as I looked at Logan, I realized that for our entire marriage, I had been the one making the sacrifices. I was the one who paid for his car when he was between jobs. I was the one who renovated this entire house with my inheritance while he spent his weekends golfing. At that moment, something inside me didn't just break, it went cold. I realized that Logan didn't want a wife. He wanted a host for his life. And if he wanted Monica at my table, he was going to get a Christmas dinner he would never, ever forget. Stick around, because by the end of this story, you'll see why being mature was the most dangerous thing Logan ever asked me to do. Logan and I have been married for 3 years. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. We had the big suburban home, the golden retriever, and the curated Christmas cards. But the reality was much darker. For 3 years, I had been the silent financier of Logan's lifestyle. Logan works in marketing, or at least, that's what his business card says. In reality, he spends more time networking at expensive bars than he does at his desk. When we bought our house, he promised we'd be partners. But when the down payment was due, his savings had mysteriously vanished into bad investments. I stepped up. I used the money my aunt left me to buy the house outright. Every piece of furniture, every high-end appliance, even the designer rug in the dining room, I paid for it all. And then there was Monica. Monica was the one who got away before he met me. She was high maintenance, dramatic, and constantly in some kind of trouble. For years, Logan told me I was insecure whenever I questioned why he was helping her move, or why he was grabbing drinks with her to help her through a breakup. "You're so much more stable than she is, Bailey," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "That's why I love you. You're the mature one." It was a trap. By labeling me the mature one, he gave himself permission to be as immature as he wanted. When he told me she was coming for Christmas, I finally asked, "Why, Logan? It's our first year hosting my parents and your brother's family. Why is your ex-girlfriend on the guest list?" He rolled his eyes, a gesture that had become his favorite way of communicating with me. "She's alone this year, Bailey. Her parents are in Florida and she's going through a hard time. My mom actually suggested it. Don't be that woman. Don't be the jealous wife who ruins Christmas over a plate of turkey." My stomach did a slow, painful flip. His mother, Brenda, was just like him. She loved Monica because Monica was exciting. She looked at me like I was a boring utility bill, necessary to keep the lights on, but not something you ever want to talk about at a party. "Fine," I said softly. "If that's what you want, Monica can come." Logan beamed, finally looking at me with something resembling affection. "Thanks, babe, I knew you. Understand. It's just dinner, right?" "Right," I replied, turning back to my gingerbread. "Just dinner." But as I piped the white frosting onto the cookies, I wasn't thinking about recipes. I was thinking about the folders in my office. I was thinking about the emergency credit card I'd given Logan 2 years ago, the one that was supposed to be for gas and groceries, but had recently been used at a jewelry store downtown. I hadn't looked at the statement yet. I had been too afraid. But now I wanted to see every single cent. The week leading up to Christmas was a blur of maturity. I didn't complain when Logan spent $600 on top-shelf bourbon for the party. I didn't say a word when I found a gift bag hidden in his closet with a silk robe that definitely wasn't my size. Instead, I went to work. I'm an accountant by trade, and if there's one thing I'm good at, it's following the paper trail. I spent my late nights in the office, but I wasn't doing client work. I was auditing my own life. I found the jewelry store charge. It wasn't just a pair of earrings. It was a diamond pendant, $3,000. I paid off every month with my salary. Then I looked at the cell phone records. Logan and Monica weren't just talking. They were texting hundreds of times a day. He was sending her photos of our house. He was telling her how quiet and boring I was. He told her he felt like he was living in a library. But the thing that made my blood run cold was a text from the night he told me she was coming to dinner. Monica. Is she going to freak out? Logan. No, I told her to be mature. She'll just cook and clean like she always does. She's too predictable to cause a scene. After dinner, I'll find a way to get you alone. I sat in my dark office, the blue light of the monitor reflecting in my eyes. Predictable. That was the word he used. To Logan, my kindness was a weakness. My stability was a floor he could walk on without ever looking down. I didn't cry. I think I was past the point of tears. Instead, I started making phone calls. First, I called the property manager. Since the house was in my name only, I had some specific questions about the locks. Then, I called a local moving company. I told them I needed a priority pack and move for a very specific set of items, scheduled for the morning of December 26th. But the most important call was to a woman named Kayla. Kayla was Logan's brother's wife. We had always been friendly, but we weren't close. I knew Kayla had been feeling the same pressure I had. Brenda, our mother-in-law, treated us both like we were just staff members for the Monroe boys. Kayla, I said when she answered, I need a favor. And I need you to trust me. By the time I hung up, the plan was in motion. If Logan wanted a mature Christmas, I was going to give him a master class in it. I spent the next 3 days being the perfect wife. I cleaned the house until it sparkled. I bought the finest turkey. I set the table with the crystal glasses I'd bought with my first big bonus. Logan was in a great mood. He kept humming Christmas carols, oblivious to the fact that I was documenting every single gift I had ever bought him, every bill I had paid, and every text he had ever sent. I was building a gift for him, too. It just wasn't going under the tree. Christmas Day has arrived. The house smelled like cinnamon and roasted meat. My parents arrived first, followed by Logan's brother, Caleb, and Kayla. Finally, the guest of honor arrived. Monica walked in wearing a dress that was entirely too short for a family dinner, clutching Logan's arm like she was the one who lived there. She handed me a bottle of cheap wine with a smirk. Bailey, honey, thanks for having me. Logan said you were totally fine with this. You're so brave. Not brave, Monica, I said, smiling with every one of my teeth. Just mature. Please have a seat. Dinner started out exactly as Logan expected. He sat at the head of the table I had paid for, and acted like the king of the castle. Brenda was doting on Monica, asking her all about her exciting life in the city, while pointedly ignoring me as I walked back and forth from the kitchen. This turkey is a little dry, Bailey, Brenda said, not even looking up. Monica, remember that brunch we had last month? That's how you cook a bird. Logan laughed. Mom, don't pick on Bailey, she tries her best. I caught Kayla's eye. She looked sick to her stomach, but she gave me a small, firm nod. It was time. Actually, I said, standing up and clinking my glass with a spoon. The room went quiet. Since we have such a special guest tonight, I wanted to do something a little different. Usually we open gifts after dinner, but I have a special announcement first. Logan frowned. Bailey, what are you doing? Let's just eat. Oh, don't be like that, Logan. You told me to be mature, and what's more mature than total transparency? I picked up a stack of beautifully wrapped envelopes that had been sitting on the sideboard. I've prepared a little year in review for everyone, a gift of knowledge. I handed the first one to Brenda, then to Caleb, then to my own parents. Finally, I placed a thick, heavy one in front of Logan. What is this? Logan asked, his voice losing its confidence. Open it, Logan. It's the diamond pendant you bought, I said. Monica gasped, her hand flying to her throat where the necklace was clearly hidden under her dress. Logan's face went white. Bailey, I can explain. No need, I interrupted. If you keep reading, you'll see the credit card statements for the last 2 years. You'll see the $3,000 for the jewelry, the $5,000 for your golf trip you said was a work retreat, and the $400 a month you've been sending Monica for her rent assistance. The table was dead silent. Brenda was staring at a photo I'd included, a screenshot of Logan's text where he called his own mother an overbearing nightmare who only likes Monica because they're both narcissists. I hadn't just audited Logan, I'd audited his conversations about everyone in that room. Bailey, stop this, Logan shouted, slamming his hand on the table. You're being hysterical. This is exactly why I needed Monica here, someone who isn't a cold, calculating robot. I didn't flinch. I'm not being hysterical, Logan. I'm being mature. And as a mature homeowner, I've realized that this house is far too big for a robot. That's why I've made some changes. I looked at Monica. I hope you like this house, Monica, because Logan has told you so much about how we own it. But if you check the deed, which is on page 4 of your packet, you'll see my name is the only one on it. Logan stood up, his chair screeching against the hardwood. You think you can just kick me out on Christmas? Actually, I said, taking a sip of my wine, I'm not kicking you out, I'm leaving, but before I go, I have one last surprise for the family. I looked at Caleb, Logan's brother. Caleb, page 6, that's the record of the loan Logan took from your kid's college fund last summer, the one he told you he'd invested for you. He used it to pay off his gambling debts. Caleb's face turned a shade of purple I'd never seen before. He looked at Logan, then at the papers, then back at Logan. You did what? He's lying, Logan screamed, but the evidence was right there, bank transfers with his signature. At that moment, there was a heavy knock on the door. Everyone froze. I walked to the front door and opened it. 2 men in uniform were standing there with a clipboard. Can I help you? Logan yelled from the dining room. Actually, they're here for me, I said, and for the furniture. I had hired the movers for the day after Christmas, but I'd paid them a massive holiday bonus to come early and just do a pre-valuation and take the big-ticket items I'd bought myself. They started walking in with dollies and blankets. What are you doing? Brenda shrieked. This is our Christmas dinner. The dinner is over, I said calmly. The house is being listed for sale tomorrow morning. Logan, you have until midnight to get your things out. Since Monica is so exciting and supportive, I'm sure she has room for you in her apartment, the one I've been paying for. Monica was already trying to sneak toward the door, but Caleb was in her way, shouting at Logan about the college fund. My father, a quiet man who had heard enough, stood up and took my arm. Let's go, Bailey. Your mother and I have the guest room ready. As I walked out of my own house, I heard the sound of a crystal glass shattering. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I spent the night at my parents' house, eating leftovers and watching old movies. The silence was the best gift I'd ever received. But the real twist happened 2 days later. Logan tried to sue me, of course. He claimed the house was marital property. But my mature planning had been deeper than he realized. Years ago, before we married, I'd had him sign a very specific document. He thought it was just a renovation agreement to allow me to use my inheritance on the house. In reality, it was a beautifully worded legal acknowledgement that the house and all its contents remained my sole property regardless of marital status, in exchange for me paying off his pre-existing student loans at the time. He hadn't even read it. He just signed it so he could get the cash. The surprise ending wasn't just that I left him. It was what happened to the house. I didn't sell it to a family. I sold it to a local nonprofit that turns large suburban homes into halfway houses for women escaping domestic and financial abuse. A month later, I got a frantic call from Logan. He was living in a motel because Caleb had punched him and kicked him out, and Monica had dumped him the second the checks stopped clearing. Bailey, please, he sobbed into the phone. The neighbors called me. There are people in our house. There are bunk beds in the dining room. You're ruining the property value of the whole street. My mom is losing her mind. I looked out at the view from my new, modest apartment, an apartment that Logan didn't know the address of. Logan, I said, my voice steady and calm. You told me to be mature. And what's more mature than helping people who actually appreciate a roof over their heads? Don't be that man who ruins a good deed over a little property value. Be mature about it. I hung up and blocked his number. For the first time in 3 years, the only person I had to take care of was myself. And honestly, I'm a very generous boss. I hope you enjoyed this story of what happens when you underestimate the quiet person in the room. If you liked this narrative, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of justice and radical life changes. Don't forget to let me know in the comments. Have you ever had a mature moment that changed everything? I'd love to read your thoughts. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.